Hey guys, so I'm going to be building a SpyderByte today. I just wanted to show you the start of this mess and how I'm going to plan on getting through this. Starting out with the frame here, I'm using the SP-F3 flight controller, and then I'm using LittleBee 4-in-1 ESC. Hope you guys can see that. So then my plan of attack is basically mount the frame together and actually figure out my spacing for everything and how I'm going to fit the receiver in there, as well as the video transmitter, where I'm putting all that stuff before I end up mounting it in. I'm planning on using the 2205 2600 kV red bottom motors. I've never tried these before, so I'm super excited to see how they perform. And then I'm going to use this cheap little video transmitter. It's like 10 bucks on Hobbyking. Using that one just because it's very small and it's not as large as the bigger ones, like the Immersion RC ones. And then I'm going to use an X4R Receiver. So hopefully we can fit that in here, but I'm trying to just see plate stack wise how I'm going to fit everything in there. So I'll update you guys once I'm farther down the road. Alright, so call me crazy, but I'm going to try to fit everything in there like this. Still haven't decided if the receiver here is going to go on top or if I'm going to be able to fit it in there. Definitely going to need to do a lot of custom soldering. The camera, I'm going to make a fixed mount, something along those lines like that. Probably go for 25 or 30 degrees at minimum. I might have to take the plate here that has these things on it and get rid of that, because that's going to get in the way. And the video transmitter, I should be able to fit it in the back here. That should be able to be mounted just right there. Shouldn't have any problems with that. A little worried about the antenna snapping the SMA off of that, but it's a $10 video transmitter, so if it happens, it's not the worst thing. But yeah, that's pretty much my approach going forward. So I'm thinking I'm going to be able to fit all of the wires in underneath with this smush. So I just have some little nylon spacers there. They're 6mm by 6mm, so I'm going to put some rubber O-rings in between for a little bit of vibration dampening. And then these wires I might need to shorten, or I can potentially tuck them away somewhere, so we'll see how that goes. Alright, so I'm getting ready to do some soldering now. I'm just going to be soldering the positive of the camera directly to the positive of the 4-in-1 ESC, as well as the video transmitter positive and ground to the terminals there. And then once I solder that, I'm going to move on and solder all the pins for the flight controller. And then after that, hopefully all the soldering should be done. Aside from the motors, of course. Alright, so I've made some progress. I've soldered the camera wire to the bottom positive, just the positive actually for the camera wire, and then for the video transmitter back here, I've cut out the audio cable because I'm not using audio. I've hooked one of the grounds to the ground here, and then the 7 to 24 volts directly over here to the power, and then video and ground have gone up to here. So I've just soldered that so that way I can plug in my camera. The other thing is I also took off the little pieces off of the camera so that way I can have a tighter fit closer to the board here. So hopefully we can fit it in, no issues. Might have to make some custom 3D printed mount or bracket so that way it can stay in there. But yeah, and then the flight controller, I believe I'm going to end up mounting it like this. That way there is pretty much no... See if I can squeeze this on. Might have to move some things around to get that to fit on, but the spacing is correct, so I know something's just tweaked a little bit. But yeah, the flight controller is going to mount on like that, and then I'll have the camera right up against it there, and then the video transmitter is going to be flipped around in the back, sitting vertically like so, and then hopefully I can fit the X4R some way on top there. I'm going to try to figure it out and then route these wires down to the arms, but choosing to just mock it up like this so I can see and make sure that everything fits before I start getting too far along. But yeah, so that's the update. Alright, so I'm currently in the process of getting the flight controller and the receiver set up. So this is actually my X4R that I've taken the cover off. It's right here, and I'm planning on fitting it right in here. I think I'll have plenty of room there. Took the pins off because I needed the space there, and then I'm going to take these guys and just solder them directly onto the S-bus connections. So you don't need the green wire. I actually already pulled the pin out, green wire out on this one, and I'll be soldering that directly to the X4R, and then I will take another short video afterwards showing you which one goes where. Alright, so where I'm at now is I was just test fitting the top cover on top of everything, and it looks like it's going to be pretty tight, but I should be able to fit the run cam in there with the X4R. I'm just going to have to slide it back a little ways, but it should fit in there, and then the video transmitter just coming up through the top plate just like that. So all I have to do is shorten this, put the XT60 on, and then here, I'll show you the wires here. So coming out of here just goes black, red, the green you don't need, and then yellow, and then into the X4R. It's the bottom one here, so it's yellow, red, black, and that's the order that you want to solder them in. And then I still have the motors to solder on, obviously, as well. But for the time being, I'm just going to get all of this cleaned up and covered. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back of this guy here just to make sure that there's no connections that are going to be bridged there or anything. So basically just double-sided tape the X4R onto there. I actually have a lot of room on top, so I might put some above him as well just to keep it in place. And then this guy is most likely going to get zip tied in the back once we get the posts and everything in. And the camera, I still have to figure out a mount for that, but it's looking like everything should fit for the time being. Okay, so I had a couple problems. The bottom wires for the video transmitter and camera were coming off, so I actually added some hot glue. I don't know if you can see it, but I added some hot glue underneath on these connections right here, so that will help hopefully hold them. Also, you can see I added some hot glue there to help reduce the chance that those are going to fall off due to fatigue. And then I just cut the motor wire here, so that way I can solder these wires on. I'm not actually going to shorten them at all, just because I have limited length. I might do that on the back just because they're really close. In the front, I actually have to work it. You can see right here that there's two holes right here. That's where those two posts go through, so I'm going to run the wires out underneath there, and then that's where I'll be soldering it to it, and then I'll most likely just going to electrical tape over it, so that way there won't be anything in the way there. But that's why I needed to keep the longer length in the front. In the back, I most likely will shorten it. But other than that, we're pretty close to the end. So something I just ran into, I was just getting ready to check the motor and make sure that I soldered it up correctly, because there's no way to tell which is which here, so I just wanted to run the motor up, see what direction it's spinning, see if I need to reverse anything. And went into clean flight here and found that this thing was just wobbling all over the place, and it wasn't stable or anything, and it was really delayed and laggy. And I didn't realize what that was immediately, but then I realized that you had to actually go up here and calibrate the accelerometer, and once you do that, all of those problems solve themselves. I don't know what version is running on this board. I have to check that later, but for the most part, for the time being, I'm just going to basically plug in a battery, reconnect it to the computer, run this motor, make sure it's running in the correct direction. And then if it is running the correct direction, I'm going to finish heat shrinking these wires. If it's not, then I'm going to unsolder two of them, switch them, and then after I do that, check it one more time, and then go to the next motor and go all the way around until all of them are spinning in the correct direction and good to go. So the next time you will see this, all 4 motors will be on it, and they will all be spinning in the right direction, hopefully. Alrighty, so I have all the motors mounted and the ESC. If you're curious about the direction of the motors for this 4-in-1 ESC, if you solder, the way I have the board right now is the wires are coming out of the bottom, and the positives and negatives coming out to the side from underneath. So I soldered this motor. So I soldered this motor directly the way that it comes out of the motor, and that makes it spin counterclockwise. And I soldered this one where I switched to the wires so it spins counterclockwise. Same thing for the one in the back. So it spins clockwise, and then this one spins counterclockwise because I soldered them the way it comes out of the ESCs. And then all I have to do now is find my receiver. So my receiver is going to just go on just like that, and then plug in right in the side here. So you just plug that in quick. So that's plugged in there. This is going to get double-sided tape and then potentially more on top like so. I'm going to feed these wires down underneath and electrical tape all of this stuff down, and then my video transmitter is going to get tucked in here, and then the camera will go up front here just like so. And that will be a relatively quick build of this little guy. So next time you see this, all this will be electrical tape down, and we will hopefully have the receiver talking to the flight controller. Alrighty, so I'm super excited to show you guys what's, for the most part, the finished product. Still have a couple minor details, but I will be showing those either in a later video or later in this video if I decide to include it and finish it tonight. But you see the camera still is not firmly mounted. Gonna have to figure out a plan for how I want to mount it. I want to get a good aggressive angle here, so I'm thinking I might be able to get 25, 30 degrees here. So I just have to figure out a way to mount that. Video transmitter in the back here looks like it should hold. The antenna might get snapped off, but seems like it should be okay for now. And then these things are just going to get routed down here, and I actually don't have any electrical tape, ironically enough, but this will all get electrical tape down all these excess wires, so that way nothing will be getting in the way of the props. But yeah, so other than that, here's the little SpyderByte, the little 170 frame. Fits in the palm of your hand. I have not weighed it yet. I unfortunately do not have a scale that can do this small of weights. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.